From the Scottish Proclaimer bar to the Cornish Skunk Anansie, it seems us Brits just can't get enough of our sweets. But some of them came from very unusual beginnings, and some have a very unexpected history. So join us on a journey into 10 amazing facts about British sweets.
Number 1. Smarties.
People of all ages love Smarties. They're bright, delicious, and come in all your favourite colours. But Smarties have been linked with controversy since the 1950s. The controversy was caused by how they make the colours. They were originally all coloured brown, using an extract from the chocolate, but in the 1980s decided to make them more appealing to children. They did this by using bright colours, putting them in more colourful packaging, and by wrapping them in a thin amphetamine shell. The plan worked perfectly as they were flying off the shelves and were also a massive hit with children as well as the up-and-coming rave scene. In fact, they were so popular that in nightclubs, people were willing to pay up to £35 for a pack, and that's where the phrase Party Smarties came from. Despite their popularity, parents were gravely concerned about these changes, and a few years later, after fierce resistance, Smarties changed their ways and opted for the octagon-shaped packaging that we all know and love today.
Number 2. The Dime Bar.
The Dime Bar, an almond-flavoured pane of glass wrapped in chocolate. It's not hard to see why our country has been shattering its teeth and impaling into our mouths for over 50 years. But did you know that destroying our faces was the plan from the very start? Yes, it started in 1951, when IKEA was looking to expand out of Sweden and into the rest of Europe. They decided the best way to make a larger profit was to build a dentist into every new IKEA store, and went about finding ways to destroying the teeth of its customers. They tried all sorts of measures until someone had the bright idea of wrapping blocks of granite in chocolate and selling it to children. After months of refining, they opted for flavoured shards of glass instead, and in 1952 the Dime Bar was born. The idea of building a dentist in IKEA stores was eventually abandoned after they realised that the people of the United Kingdom had horrific teeth already and yet were still not prepared to go to the dentist, but still opted to keep the Dime Bar going anyway. So the next time you tuck into a Dime Bar and you pee blood from the internal bleeding caused by dime scratching your stomach lining, you can give a big thank you to the boffins in Sweden for creating the delicious, deadly treat.
Number 3. Maltesers.
Little puffs of honeycomb wrapped in thick milk chocolate. Maltesers have always been popular here, but they were originally a vital instrument in winning the Second World War. In 1943, the Germans had developed a new weapon, a missile capable of launching up to 2,000 bees with a range of nearly 1,000 miles, resulting in fear and chaos throughout British cities. The government stopped their effectiveness by planting large amounts of flowers outside of towns to draw the bees away, resulting in the largest excess of honey in British history. The government decided to produce thousands of tons of honeycomb and chocolate to counter the food shortages, with each person having access to up to 4 kilos of Maltesers a day, served by the butcher in solid blocks. A thick slice of Malteser, served with 2 egg and chips, is still a traditional dish served in North Wales today. Nowadays it's more traditional to buy them in the shape of little round balls, but at least you know next time you buy a packet, you'll know that those little round balls helped us win the war.
Number 4. Wine gums.
Wine gums have always been popular since their conception in 1909, but have been the cause of confusion since their release. So just to clarify, wine gums do not and never have contained alcohol. Their name was simply a marketing tool, as it would be very irresponsible to give alcoholic sweets to children, but it was completely fine back then to imply it heavily and list different types of alcohol on each sweet. No, when it comes to flavours of wine gums, they're pretty ordinary, with different flavours based on different colours, like red for raspberry, black for blackcurrant, and white for either grapefruit or the eternal dread of the human spirit, depending on where in the country you buy it from. So now that you know, you can give bags of wine gums to your friends and loved ones, free from the worry that they'll get drunk and start sending inappropriate photos of themselves to exes that they'll regret in the morning.
Number 5. The Wispa Bar.
The Wispa Bar. Little bubbles of happiness wrapped in chocolate. Hard to imagine that Wispa was not a British invention, but was actually invented in 1884 by Herschel von Wispa in Berlin, Germany. The Wispa bar was a revelation, but was a major cause of stress to the British government, who had released the Aero bar just a few months before, which was effectively just a Wispa bar in a different shape. Both chocolate bars attempted to assert its dominance throughout Europe, with the Aero bar being enjoyed in Britain, France and Russia, and the Wispa bar in Germany, Italy and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. But after 30 years of the Wispa bar attempting to dominate Europe, combined with several minor incidents, Britain was left with no choice but to declare war on Germany in 1914. The war lasted 4 years and was known as the Great Chocolate War, resulting in the deaths of nearly 20 million people. The result was Britain won and demanded full rights to the Wispa bar as reparations, and the German Empire accepted. Nowadays they're considered as British as fish and chips, so the next time you open a Wispa wrapper, you will not just end up with chocolate on your hands, it will also be the blood of millions of innocent men, women and children.
Number 6. The chocolate cream.
The chocolate cream. One of the blandest inventions in British history, but did you know it was not originally a food? Yes, the company that made the chocolate cream was working on a moisturiser that went on to be known as E45 cream. But while experimenting on getting the consistency just right, the scientists dropped it in a bowl of sugar, creating a paste that was described by the scientist as alright I suppose. Word of the bland, tolerable paste soon spread to the management, and were probably bored when the company owner tried it and found it tolerable and couldn't wait to get it onto market. They wrapped the bland paste in some bland chocolate, put a bunch of bland letter Fs on it, and wrapped the whole thing in a bland wrapper. The treat was a revelation, as the blandness truly captured the mood of Britain in the 60s. So the next time you buy one and experience the total indifference, you can laugh at the fact it was made completely by accident, and also know that you laughing about it will be the first time that a chocolate cream has resulted in an emotional reaction of any kind. They've released several flavours since its conception, but nobody has any opinion on them either.
Number 7. Caramac bars.
Caramac bars are the greatest thing that mankind has ever created, and 99% of the population agree, despite the fact that they never buy them. Eating one is like having a sweet baby angel come down from the heavens itself and blessing all 2,000 to 8,000 taste buds individually and collectively. To describe one, you would need the finest poets on earth to be locked in a room for all eternity while force-fed Red Bull and coffee, and even then it's unlikely they can even begin to describe the experience of even opening the packet. Despite being the greatest, most beautiful thing that mankind has ever conceived, people never buy them in the shop when they buy a chocolate. This is because evil chocolate companies are forced to make as many adverts as possible in the hope that you forget Caramac bars exist for a few minutes. But look at them. Just take a look at how amazing they are. They're so amazing that even things that contain trace amounts of things similar to Caramac bars are incredible. This is a gold bar. It contains a tiny bit of Caramac in it, and they are by far the greatest biscuit ever made. There are no facts here, I just have a moral duty to remind you that while Caramac bars exist, nothing else in this country is worthy of calling itself good.
Number 8. The walnut whip.
The walnut whip is a popular sweet that no one has ever seen or eaten before. Nestle at one point claimed that one was eaten every 2 seconds, but despite my appeal throughout the internet, I cannot find anyone who buys them. I can only come to the conclusion that they're either bought and consumed by a single family somewhere, or that Mr. Beast has bought them all for some YouTube project that he hasn't got around to releasing yet. Nobody knows for sure what they look like, what they consist of, or what they taste like. The sad thing is, from the research I did, they're probably very nice, and everyone I spoke to said they'd love to try one sometime. I do have a bunch of facts on them, but honestly, who cares? If I told you the walnut was made from some kind of edible wood that was genetically modified by Nestle, and the middle contained the petrified remains of Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter, you'd be none the wiser for it. I believe this is what the packaging looks like for it, but that could just be a wind-up from someone on the internet, and I don't care, and neither do you.
Number 9. Cadbury mini eggs.
Cadbury's mini eggs have been a popular treat since 1967, due partly because of the satisfying crunch of the shell, the lovely rich chocolate on the inside, and partly because they will not melt in any conditions found naturally on Earth. Yes, scientists measured in 1984 that mini eggs must have a melting point of at least 800 centigrade. That's a toasty 1472 Fahrenheit. Mini eggs are so resistant to heat that they're now commonly used to create ovens, furnaces, and are used to store probes for measuring the temperatures of active volcanoes. Mini eggs have recently started to be used in particle physics as a cheap and easy alternative to concrete. The Large Hadron Collider in CERN is actually a 17-mile long hollow mini egg. The temperatures of up to 5 trillion centigrade for quark gluon plasma inside the collider is mere child's play to the impenetrable armour of our popular British confectionery. So if you buy a little packet this weekend, just remember that those cute little eggs are helping our scientists prove the theories of quantum chromodynamics and measuring the levels of CP violation in B quarks, as well as cheering you up during all the senseless death in your next Game of Thrones marathon.
Number 10. Quality Street.
Ah, Quality Street. All the best forms of confectionery in one beautiful tin. Everyone has a favourite, whether it's the cheeky little strawberry delight, the rich honeycomb crunch, or the underwhelming milk choc block. There really is something for everyone. But did you know there have been countless varieties that have come and gone over the years? Who can forget the good old days of the naughty apricot delight, the noble fig fancy, or the groundbreaking gooseberry cream? These aren't joke names, by the way. I had to double check all of them just to make sure I hadn't got them wrong. Apricot sounds awful, but my imagination can stretch far enough to believe they might be okay. But gooseberry and figs? When have you ever been in the mood for gooseberries? Honestly, even your grandparents would look at you weirdly if you asked for gooseberries for pudding. And figs? Quality Street came out in the 1930s, not 200 BC in ancient Greece. What on earth were they thinking? Next time an old person tells you that sweets were nicer in their day, you ask them, you look them in the eye, and you ask them how light green fondant and gooseberry preserve wrapped in chocolate could possibly be better than what we have now. We've invented the Caramac bar, the Milky Way, the Kinder Bueno, and they were wedging bits of gooseberries and figs into chocolate like the insane generation that they are. You tell them their sweets were disgusting and they're glad that they got stopped before they could do any more damage to our country. How can that generation sleep at night knowing what they've done? So that concludes today's top 10. If you liked it, don't forget to share to get the word out there. And if there was anything in the video you disagree with, please watch it several times to make sure it wasn't just you misunderstanding what was said, and then comment with what you thought was wrong, and immediately hit the like button so it brings it to my attention straight away. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.